There's a specific kind of person who moves through the world without leaving fingerprints. Not invisible, the opposite actually. Loud enough to be noticed, present enough to be remembered, but somehow never quite accountable for anything. The kind of person who is always in the room but never the one you're watching. Jeffrey Epstein was that kind of person. He grew up in Brooklyn, nothing remarkable about it. His family wasn't poor, wasn't rich, wasn't connected. He was smart, genuinely, mathematically smart, but he didn't finish college. He dropped out. And then somehow he ended up teaching math and physics at the Dalton School in Manhattan, one of the most elite prep schools in the country. No degree, no formal credentials, just walked in and got the job. That should have been the first sign of something. Not something sinister, necessarily, just this is a man who operates outside the normal rules. And the normal rules seem fine with it. He left teaching, got into finance, landed at Bear Stearns, and eventually left to start his own fund. J. Epstein and Company. He told people he only worked with clients worth over $1 billion. Nobody could ever name those clients. There are theories. Some people believe he was running an intelligence operation, gathering compromising information on powerful people as leverage, possibly on behalf of a government or multiple governments. Others think the money came from blackmail more directly. Others think it was simply fraud that nobody looked at closely enough because everyone assumed someone else had already done the due diligence. The honest answer is nobody knows. What we do know is that the money was real, the mansion was real, the island was real, and the explanation was never convincing. But money was almost secondary to what Epstein was actually building. His real asset was his network. He collected people, serious people, scientists, politicians, royalty, financiers. He had a gift for making each person feel like they were the most interesting person in the room, and that being in his room meant something. He hosted dinners where a Nobel laureate might sit across from a head of state. He made introductions. He made himself useful. Stephen Hawking, Donald Trump, Elon Musk, Bill Clinton, and many more attended events at his properties. Epstein pursued proximity to power the way other people pursue money. And it worked, because proximity to that many powerful people creates a kind of armor. What was happening underneath all of this had been happening for years before anyone official paid attention. Young girls, teenagers, some much younger than that, were being brought to Epstein's homes in Palm Beach, Manhattan, New Mexico, his island in the Virgin Islands. They were recruited by other young women, often victims themselves, who knew which girls were vulnerable, girls who needed money, girls without stable homes, girls who could be told this was just a job and might believe it because they needed to. What happened to them has been documented in court filings, in depositions, in years of testimony from women who spent a long time being told it was their word against his. And for a long time, that calculus held. In 2005, police in Palm Beach started getting reports. An investigation built. The evidence was serious, dozens of identified victims, a clear and consistent pattern, enough to pursue federal charges that could have put Epstein away for a very long time. Instead, Alexander Acosta, the U.S. attorney handling the case, negotiated a deal. In 2008, Epstein pleaded guilty to 2 state charges. He served 13 months in a county jail. He was allowed to leave for work release up to 12 hours a day. The victims weren't notified. That was part of the agreement. Epstein walked out in 2010 and went back to his life. Then in 2019, he was arrested again. Federal charges, sex trafficking. This time there would be a real trial. This time, victims were prepared to testify in open court. This time, the names in that address book might actually be read aloud in front of a jury. He was held at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Manhattan. Maximum security, one of the most monitored federal facilities in the country. On August 10th, 2019, he was found dead. The cameras outside his cell had malfunctioned. The guards assigned to check on him had fallen asleep. He had been taken off suicide watch days earlier. His cellmate had been transferred the day before. The official ruling was suicide. A forensic pathologist hired by his family looked at the same evidence and said the injuries were more consistent with homicide. The FBI investigated and closed the case without charges. No one has ever been held responsible for whatever happened in that cell. Ghislaine Maxwell, his longtime companion and the person prosecutors described as central to the trafficking operation, was convicted in 2021. She's serving 20 years. The rest of Epstein's circle has, for the most part, moved on. Jeffrey Epstein didn't hide. He threw parties, and that, more than anything else, is what's hard to sit with.